Good morning, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss design today. I'm grateful to the UX Mobile team for all the hard work, and especially to Naveed, Brett, Alexander, thank you. My name is Nik Parekh. I worked at Samsung NEXT as a design strategy lead. Prior to that, I was at Delta Airlines and Chase Bank working at their innovation labs. My job is to make services seamless and innovative, and I do so by focusing solely on design and business opportunities. Prior to being a service designer, I was in advertising, working as a copywriter and art director. So recently I took a break to author my first book. It's called The Future of Extraordinary Design. The initial idea stemmed from fascination for human-centered design and how we've put human at the center of all our products and services. As an advertiser and a service designer, I often like to zoom in and look at the other side of coin. And when I looked at human-centered design, I was amazed to find out that aren't all the problems in the world because we ultimately only think about ourselves. This was fascinating because I never saw it this way. I wrote this book for designers and innovators like you, where I can present you another perspective. The future of extraordinary design is about questioning everything we've been taught. Questions like, what are today's industry norms? Are they right for tomorrow? Are we serving one group over another? So before I move on, I'd like to discuss a few topics from the book and what are the questions that I want to ask, and hopefully I can put my message across. So standardization, I don't think so that's right. That's right. I'm in UK. So why did standardization become so popular and at the core of design? Why do we design systems, and why do we standardize our physical and digital space all the time? Why, as designers, we are always told to think in a way that can be replicated? And I've been thinking about this, and the fact is, American companies wanted to grow. They wanted to grow internationally. They designed processes to make expansion easy, and more importantly, fast. Design once, replicate 100 times, or probably 1,000 times now. And just like it's housing development or fast food chain, we have McDonald's, Starbucks, and Uber spanning across the globe because of standardization. But trends have quickly changed. In the last 5 to 10 years, we've seen the trends change. People no longer want giant corporations to decide and deliver. People want unique, they want artisan, they want local, they want handmade. They want their cultures reflected in their choices. And none of these brands can provide that because they are onto a mass expansion. They are not unique, they're not local, and they're definitely not handmade. So let's look at a couple of examples. And I'm sure we all have thought of this at some point, but these are McDonald's from around the world. They are from different cities, different neighborhoods, different countries, different regions, and different continents. They all look the same. Even if you swap one to another, if you swap two places, it won't make any difference. This is what standardization looks like. We've made this mistake in the past in the brick and mortar, and we are about to make the same mistake in the digital space. And this is Uber app. This on the left is one in Tokyo, and the middle one is the one in London, UK, and on the right is Sweden. We know all these three countries are extremely unique in their design language, in their culture, yet the app looks the same. Yes, the currency, the flag, and the languages may differ, but the look and feel is the same because it's highly standardized. What if I told you that design is far more powerful than just changing languages, flag, and currency? We have to think different. We have to think unstandardization. because design needs to adapt to communities. Communities should not adapt to our design. Here's another example, and this is Apple Store. On the left is the one in Dubai, the middle one is the one in Berlin, and on the right is the one in Brooklyn. These are unique. They are unique to their communities. And the fact is, Apple hired local people to design local storefront with local architecture. They chose colors based on cultural relevance, cultural tradition. If you took any of these buildings and just put it outside West End of London, it will look out of place. After all, good design is always contextual, dynamic, and relative. Here's another example. This is probably one of my favorite examples. This is Enoteca Maria. It's a restaurant in New York. They hire a new head chef every week. They call them nonas, also known as grandmothers, to design a distinct, authentic menu. One week it may serve Portuguese food, the second week it may serve Indian food, the next week it may serve Indian food, and the fourth week it may serve American food. And what's nice about this is that it's very culturally relevant. People go here not because they have a better checkout experience, people go here because it's novel. It pulls together different traditions, it pulls different traditions together in a way that's extremely New York, that's uniquely New York. Perhaps the most important part, it's extremely unstandardized. Standardization is not all that bad. It was extremely profitable for a long time. Historians, 100 years from today, may decide it was the necessary evil on a road to mass expansion. You can standardize many parts of your business. You can standardize your supply chain. But what is the big difference between a supply chain and a storefront? Supply chain is invisible. Storefront isn't. In the current market, standardization of current customer interfacing elements is beginning to hinder more than it helps. So that's why I always say, keep it invisible, collaborate with locals. They know the community better than we do, just like Apple did, and make it unique to communities. Your storefront or your physical brick and mortar space doesn't need to stand out. It needs to blend with the communities. My next topic is human-centered design. This is extremely close to me because this is one of the topics that I feel like where we've gone completely wrong. Human-centered design is now used in every form of design. Every designer puts people at the center of their products and services. But haven't we done this for centuries? Every ancient culture put planet Earth at the center of the universe. And our life story always revolves around us. So what if, and we have to ask ourselves one question. We are part of the ecosystem. We are not the whole ecosystem. If the user has a place at the center of the design, so does every other living thing. And I'd like to start with this example. This is a zoo in California. How many here think that zoos are ethical and we need them? I'd love to. Please raise your hands if you think so. Wow. And how many people think zoos are unethical? Okay. For people sitting in front, I think we have almost 80%. And so to start with, zoos are a perfect example of what the flaws in human-centered thinking are. Zoos only think about us. As much as we like to justify that we are preserving endangered species and we are exposing children to the wonders of nature, the lion in this photo isn't sleeping to conserve energy from the midday heat. The habitat wasn't built for him. He's bored. He's only there to make sure when a kid wants to see a lion, he gets to see one. And now let's look at another example. This is Zootopia in Denmark. The name is Kutske, but it's called Zootopia. It's Denmark's version of a new zoo. The designers flip the story here. The humans are in a cage looking out on real habitats, not enclosures. So actually, down there is the entire forest, and on top, humans can actually look at them, but they won't know which animal is where. They actually have to spot them, just like you do in real forests. The animals are the focus of the story here. The designers built a home for them, then found a way for humans to access it unobtrusively. And human-centered thinking goes beyond just zoos. It's in everything we do today. If we look at life examples around us, we will find that at every point there's human-centered thinking and something else is getting destroyed because of that. What effect does cloud seeding have on the environment? And cloud seeding is a way that was used in Beijing Olympics, is a way to actually put some chemicals on the cloud so that it rains. So we control the climate in some way. And this has been extremely used for events where they don't want unexpected weather. We don't know the consequences of that on the animals, on the plants, on other things. The second one is, have you seen a family dog when we actually light up fireworks on the New Year's Eve? What about palm oil production and all the rainforest getting destroyed because we like to have our chips? And what about the ethics of dolphin shows? All these are human-centered design, designed for our convenience and our amusement. Every human design only caters to a certain group of humans. The customer of one design can be the victim of another. But if not human-centered design, then what? Why not we design for everything? Why not we think of design in totality? We don't have to put humans in the center of the design, like we saw, but we can put the actual subject at the center of the design. So in this book, I encourage you to design in totality. Part of that is always holding on to the bigger picture, not just a small pixel within it. Design in totality means if the user has a place at the center of the design, so does every other living thing. Don't limit yourself as a designer. Don't just think of humans at the center. Be mindful of others in the ecosystem. Before I start my third topic, I'd like to share an example. This is Lake Erie. Lake Erie is fourth largest lake. It spans across 7 different states, and it spans across 7 different states in the United States and 2 different countries, US and Canada. Lake Erie has rights, the same right that every individual has in the United States and every corporation has in the United States. It happened because a community was upset about a rampant pollution with no real accountability. Citizens can now sue on behalf of Lake Erie whenever they feel it's in danger of major environment hazard. And soon we might be writing laws for non-humans. Just like Lake Erie, this is not an anomaly. Other countries are granting rights to lakes and forests just like the way they did to Lake Erie. Laws are not keeping up with the future anymore. When we create or design something which is 5 years out or 15 years out, we might be thinking only about the humans and the product and services. But we've seen the shift in political change across the world, especially in the United States, where your ideas could be questioned. Your ideas are no longer touching upon thousands and millions of users. They affect billions of users. And some of the examples are Uber and Airbnb, where they never thought a political shift will change, and their products and services will become more political. So the big question is, can designers be lawmakers? Today, technology seems to move faster than it can be written. Even if there are laws around the world, they're very wishy-washy. And we've seen that another example, because we saw what happened with Facebook and the election. And no country in the world knows how to solve this because the laws on privacy are very wishy-washy. What if designers, we venture outside the products and services? As designers, we love to be part of a startup or part of a big corporation where we love designing products and services. What if we treat the law the same way? What if we design our laws as if we design a service which is for everyone, which is questioning everything at the right time? Because I believe that, after all, lawmaking is about understanding the consequences of your idea, understanding communities, and understanding the ecosystem which is within it. So can designers be lawmakers? And I definitely think designers should be lawmakers, because at the end of the day, we can bring something that no other politician can. And a lot of people ask me that, why not politicians look at things differently? And maybe they're not able to understand technology. But politicians never got it right in the first place, because 50 years back, they had the same problem with plastic, where we just saw the positives of plastic, and we never questioned what may happen 50 years from now. And today, we are facing the same issue. Nobody seems to question the next technology. We just go with the flow because it's helping us at this point. Imagine a future where every graduate has working knowledge of empathy, co-creation, and experimentation, plus the ability to listen. Designing the future. This is extremely close to me. Fortunately, I was part of designing some of the products and services which were looking out 10 years, 15 years. At Delta, we were looking at customer journey in 2027. At Chase Bank, we were looking at branch of the future in 2023. And at Samsung, we were looking at edge technology, which would be somewhere in 2030. So I got an opportunity to do that. We get to design the future, from taxes to taxis, from energy to AI. How we design it is completely up to us. When we search for answers, we are copying. When we search for solutions, it's innovation. I ask every one of you to design the future the way you see it, because after all, what really matters to consumers, and that consumer doesn't have to be just another human. What really design today is no longer about delivering a product, it's about a feeling it evokes. And after all, if we take some of the principles, when we not standardize things and we respect countries' cultures, why do we travel? Why do we travel to another country? Because we want to see another American product, or because we want to see another British product? We travel because we love cultures. We go to exotic countries because we want to see another culture. We want to see what kind of food they eat, how they travel. And that's what's unique about design as well. We don't want to create in one small office in San Francisco and ship it around the world. My next is, when you think about designing for the future, think of it as a lawmaker. Think of it what a politician would think. What are the side effects to your technology? Are you helping a community? Are we destroying one? And last and not the least is, think beyond human-centered design. Don't think only humans at the center of your design. And I believe that every single designer holding on to this idea can change communities. A room of us can change the world. That's it for my time. Thank you. Questions? Happy to answer any questions you may have.
So we've got a couple on Slido, which I've decided is my new favourite thing. This is it's so much better than asking at the end of the chat. So we had one question that came in that I thought was quite interesting, and that was, Apple stores are designed to give the same experience to every customer worldwide. So how is that unstandardized?
So Apple stores are, at the end of the day, we have to keep some brand values. I think creating a better checkout experience and creating a unique checkout experience is not culturally relevant, because people see that as an evolution. People want that because they think that experience is better and their lives gets easier. But when we think about cultural relevance, the uniforms, what people wear, how they actually greet someone, those are more culturally relevant. I'm not saying that Apple has done everything perfect, but at least they are at the right path. Maybe over a period of time, they'll realize that there's more to be done. Maybe they need to be more culturally relevant, but at least they're on the right path.
This question feels very existential, which is, if we design the future the way we see it, aren't we repeating the errors of our past? It's a big question.
Yeah. I've often been asked how to design for the future, and my answer has always been, if you really want to design for the future, if you take problems and solve few problems at a time, that's iteration. If you take many problems at a time and do it, that's an evolution. I'll give a simple example of Tesla. I think a lot of people don't realize, but in America, but what this company has done, they've changed the way people think of cars. Every small problem that we see in today's cars, they've solved it. And that's what design for the future is. Design of the future is not about going to Google Images and typing in car of the future, but it's about solving the small problems at a time. And there are a lot of companies who do that. Apple has done this really nicely, Tesla has done this, and a lot of companies did that. Every product that you see, which is an innovative product, has solved a lot of problems, right from iPhones to Twitter to Tesla to Apple. And that to me is designing for the future. Solve problems, that's all we need to do. I'll actually give a little example. I was traveling from Atlanta to San Francisco, and I had a kitty cat, and she basically, I had to bring her back home, and she was with me in the flight. And what happened is they said that you can put her under the seat, and her career was a little too big to be under the seat. And we literally pushed her in. And I was like, she's not going to be comfortable. Imagine being under the seat like this much space. And that's where I thought that airline or entire security system is not being designed for anybody else than a human. Though we travel with our pets, and actually somehow that does relate to designing for the future and human-centered. If my cat or my dog is not comfortable at the security experience, I'm not going to have a good time, because that's a family member for me. So when we design for the future, again, put everyone in mind. And I think everything can be redesigned with solving a lot of problems. This is one of them.
Fantastic. Well, that's all the questions we've got time for. Thank you so much.
Thank
Can
you.
we have a huge round of applause for Nik Parekh?